Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap. Welcome back in. I torn up my show sheet. It's good because the show sheet ends right there at the very beginning. Anyway, what's up to everybody here on here on a Wednesday? Oh, it's a big Wednesday, man. We got the perfect offensive line storm that we're going to be talking about. We also have an actual storm that's brewing outside. I don't know if it's a storm, but we're at least getting some rain out here in Spicewood. So if you're in the great city of Austin, certainly my hometown, you can maybe expect some rain unless you just get completely swindled like everybody's gotten swindled all summer. But hey, I'm not getting swindled. I'm not sure that the lake level is going to come up because of this. My hair still looks very orange to me. I did get a email from something that we'll talk about a little bit later.
All right, we've got a frozen Alex. Alex, if you can hear me, just hop out, come back in. I'll be running the show for a second. El Presidente in the house. True football show here. Alex, it's frozen Alex at the moment. We're going to have to get him fixed. Money B, what's going on, guys? Welcome in. Blake Winfrey was here earlier. Hookem, JD Hack, Darwin Lemon, Cody Carpentier. What's up, my dude? Let's see if we can get Alex back. Alex doesn't want to admit he dyed his hair. He did dye his hair for the victory, right? That had to be what it was. It wasn't orange last week. Like, you should start. Hey, DJ Campbell has had his best game, I think, as a Longhorn last week. So I'm probably rolling DJ Campbell, at least according to PFF. AT&T Alex in the house. Alex will blame the rain for being frozen. Now, while he's gone, hold on. Let's take a look at this. This is looking pretty good for us here, guys. Now, Lake Travis is over 50 feet low. This has got to help out some, right? Look at this. Jumping on from Denton, Texas. Hey, good to see you, Jeff Bowerman. All right. Oh, we're going to go ahead and play an ad, and hopefully we can get Alex back here as soon as possible. Until he gets back, enjoy Chris Sims.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback takes a look at arguably the most high-profile recruitment in the history of the Texas football program, at least until Arch Manning came along. Yes, I'm talking about former Texas quarterback Chris Sims, who was the nation's #1 ranked prospect when he came out of New Jersey in 1999. Sims took a look around all over the nation early in his recruitment, visiting the likes of Ohio State and Penn State, before eventually setting on his top two. The two UTs, Texas and Tennessee, were his two finalists. After taking an official visit to Austin in the fall of 1998, the Longhorns appeared to be poised to land Sims, which partly helped steer Eli Manning, who also visited Texas in the fall of 1998, to Ole Miss. Yet, when Sims announced his decision on December 15th on the MSG network, he picked the Vols over the Longhorns. Mack Brown later admitted that the Texas coaching staff was shocked by the news. Quote, "I'm proud to be a Vol, and it's a good place for me," Sims said upon his announcement. "I'm a big fan of Coach Fulmer, and I think it fits me right. I feel so relieved, and I can finally get back to being a high schooler and enjoying myself." Yet, the truth of the matter is that Sims wasn't really relieved about the decision, and word got around quickly that he was wavering on his commitment to the Vols almost as soon as he made the announcement. I can remember talking to a Texas source on January 1st of 1999, just before the Longhorns played Mississippi State in the Cotton Bowl, that the Longhorns were going to flip Sims away from Tennessee. A few days following the New Year's Bowl game, Sims called Texas assistant coach Tim Brewster to tell him that he was having second thoughts. Less than 3 weeks later, Sims sat down with his parents, Diana and Phil, you might have heard of him, to reevaluate the decision. The next day, he called Tennessee head coach Phil Fulmer to deliver the news. Sims said, quote, "The hardest thing I ever did in my life. The first thing he said to me was, 'Chris, I'm down here in Alabama recruiting you the best receiver in the country,' end quote." One day later, Sims made things official by flipping his commitment to the Longhorns, which helped cement a #1 overall recruiting class for Brown and his coaching staff. It proved to be a game changer for the Longhorns, as evidenced by the commitment of the big 3 wide receivers in the following recruiting class: B.J. Johnson, Roy Williams, and Sloan Thomas, as well as paving the way for Cedric Benson's commitment to the Longhorns in the 2001 recruiting class. Ultimately, it was one of the great recruiting moments in the history of the Texas football program.
Okay, man. Football with friends, it's fun as hell. Hey, so what just happened was, look, I don't even care that we went off, because I lost power from a lightning strike, dude. So it's fantastic. There's thunder, there's lightning, it's perfect. But hold on, zoom in a little bit on that thing. So I'll show you. I think I'm right in the heart of this. Go to the Lakeway area, kind of.
Up in here.
Yeah, and then just go kind of up right there in that bend of the lake right there. Go up where there's got that little boot that comes down.
Oh,
right
yeah, over here.
No, over more to the left.
Oh, over here.
I'm like on the back side of it here in Spicewood. Yeah. So I'm just, yeah, man. We're in the yellow. Yeah, man. So hopefully it won't happen again. But if it does, dude, I don't care. It's rain. It's storming. What's up to the chat? We got Blake Winfrey. We got Hacker. Darwin Lemon. How are you, sir? Cody Carpentier. Are the dogs in the house? Oh, anytime Cody's in the house, man, we got a big dog in the house. Money B. El Presidente, just a dude. Alex Carranza says Alex doesn't want to admit he dyed his hair over the weekend. We've talked about it.
You did it for the Longhorns victory, right? That's what happened?
El Presidente. So I guess this is about when I froze. Yeah. AT&T, Alex in the house. Never. Hashtag never AT&T for me, Cody. Okay. Serious question.
Spectrum Business.
Alex get his highlights done when his wife did 2 for 1. I hope my wife isn't watching. That'll remind her that she needs to get highlights done, and they'll make me have to take care of the kids for the 4 hours that task seems to take. Hookem from Germany says Sloan Cox. Hello, sir, Mr. Jareth Mulholland. Great to see you guys.
From Findlay, Ohio.
Yeah, Findlay, Ohio.
Is that what that is? Yeah,
Findlay, Ohio. Nice. We're just super
we
glad.
need to get El Presidente on the show.
Yeah. Well, not if he's going to make fun of my hair. He's not allowed.
We can make fun of his lack of hair.
Yeah. Let's see here. So, yeah, today we'll talk about we got the offensive line breakdown to do. The perfect storm, man, on the offensive line. Very, very interesting happenings there as far as the grades.
Storm.
Yeah, the perfect storm, man. That should be the name of the show. The perfect storm, offensive line. So we have that. We have the I wanted to talk just a little bit if we have time. We wanted to talk yesterday about the matchup tool up at Roster Watch, just talking about some of this week's NFL matchups, fantasy players that might have failed in week 1, or, just players on your favorite teams that might have sort of failed in week 1 that look to bounce back in week 2 based on their fantasy matchups via my magical, mystical, and maniacal proprietary algorithm. We have some possible news on merch. Where's that hat? Can you superimpose the hat?
Let me see if I got the hat.
We have some possible news on merch. I got an email from a guy. He's like, dude, I watched the show. I run a merch company. Let's do this. So Blake and I are going to talk to this guy about this. I've been too busy today finishing up the deep dig. Matthew Stafford, his wife went on an explosive podcast recently, talked about how he was having some trouble connecting with some of these younger millennials on the team. I want to talk about, Micah Hudson. We need to talk about that. We didn't get to it yesterday. And I saw earlier that I didn't get to read it yesterday, but there it is. Jason, that's a nice looking hat. I'm telling you, it looks better than this orange hair I got. The guy the merch guy at the very end of the email, when he to introduce himself to me, he said, "By the way, I think you might have a warming filter on your camera, and that's what's making you look like a ginger. Thanks." And he signed his name. So I looked to see if I have a warming filter. I don't, but this did seem to happen all of the sudden, right? And it did happen right after the Alabama game.
It wasn't like that last week. Texas beats Alabama. Your hair turns.
My hair turns orange. Like it looked like Carrot Top, that old comedian. And then I did notice yesterday, Jason Sukamel put in a future cast
yeah.
for Brandon Baker
and Ryan
Wingo. But it's Brandon Baker that I want to talk about. Like, whatever. I want to talk.
Big man today.
He's the one from Modern Day, right? California. Yes. Yeah, dude. So I'd like to talk about them. Let's see. Molon says, "Don't forget about Stafford." I'm telling you, we're not going to forget about it today. Oscar Lopez says, "Would you trade Tyreek Hill and Garrett Wilson for Bijan Robinson and Stephon Diggs?" Man, Tyreek Hill sure is a nuclear weapon, but I'm worried about Garrett Wilson. It feels like you're buying. I mean, yes, I would trade Tyreek Hill and Garrett Wilson for Bijan Robinson and Stephon Diggs. Yes, I would do that. The algorithm sucked on where it had Drake London, got him in too many leagues, says Jason Hablinski. Hey, you can't give up on Drake London after just one game. That's what we're talking about here. When you didn't get Drake London in too many leagues.
Hey, some people were giving up on DJ Campbell after week 1, and look what he did in week 2.
Yep, excited for this show today. Kevin McBride, the offensive deep dig. Man, I'm excited about it too. And I think that's just probably where I guess that's where we should probably start. Oh, also the theme of the show, of course, best rock albums. Cody said Metallica Black Album. I certainly agree that that's gotta be up there as one that you have to consider, especially for especially a kid like me, Oregon Trail generation, kind of what do they call it, geriatric millennials. All right, the kids like born like right at like 1980, like the kids who people who were like me had really interesting childhoods because we had childhoods without the internet, right? Mm-hmm. And then by the time you got to be like 12 or 13 or something, your mom and dad, they had like fax machines, and then they got dial-up internet and stuff, and it made this weird this weird sound and this dial tone and all this weird stuff. Like people can remember what this stuff is. And you didn't even really use the internet and stuff. The first time I ever got an email was whenever I went to Texas and I got my utexas.edu email address, right? That was my first ever email. And I think that for a lot of people, they got the internet and the computers and everything like that integrated into their lives as adults, and they could sort of deal with them as adults. But for us, it's like this weird group where it's like half of our lives there was like none of this, and all of a sudden here it is, right as you're kind of becoming an adult. It was an awesome time to grow up. But if you grew up in that generation, certainly all that early '90s stuff has to be in your. I mean, yeah. Like we'll talk about it, but there's just a whole ton of albums that were like 1990 to 1994 that I was thinking of. They're just awesome. But anyway, we'll talk about that. And also just really quickly, I got to do it. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you're watching. Like I wrote down, I have to say it once a segment. Oh, and also once a segment. If you'd like to sponsor the show, please email me, alex@rosterwatch.com.
Hey, and before we get into it tonight, 9 p.m. on The Outsiders, Adam Dunn is going to join. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah. Fulbert was a Longhorn quarterback for a very short period of time, and then legendary MLB player, of course.
Oh, he played baseball, right? But he played a little bit. He played a little bit of football too.
But he enrolled at Texas and was the backup. I could be wrong, but this is around the time I was born. But he was the third string quarterback for a spring semester behind Applewhite in Sims, I think.
Right.
And went on to a great baseball career.
We have El Presidente, speaking of early '90s, going to Pearl Jam tonight in Fort Worth. See, that's what gave me the idea. I'm going to Pearl Jam and here in Austin on next Tuesday.
Nice.
I think, or wait, is it next Tuesday? Maybe. That came up real quick. I need
if
to.
They're in Fort Worth. It's got to be soon. I assume they're swinging.
No spoilers, El Presidente. All right. Let's.
El Presidente going to put the set list in here tomorrow.
Let's get into the deep dig. All right. So here's what happened. And I was just, as I was thinking about it, I was like, man, okay, all right. So first of all, the offensive line played really well. And as you guys know, the way that my schedule works, I get the data done and I watch the games. And by the time I get on this show, my goal is just to have the work done. And during the show, it's like I come on here, it's football with friends, dude. I'm here with you guys. We sort of talk it out together. We go through this stuff. So there's going to be times when I'm going like stuff things I have questions about that that I don't know the answers to, and we'll go through the deep dig and we'll go through some of the previous years and stuff, and we'll try and figure out whether or not this truly was a game that was pretty unprecedented as far as offensive line performances go. Mainly just in the lack of disruption allowed. These guys did not allow hardly any disruption as I look at it. And you'll have to excuse me that I'm a little bit slower with getting stuff up today, because when the computer went out, I shut down all my I shut down all my applications here. But if I go and I just look, so as I'm pulling it together, the God, that thunder, did you hear it? Could you guys hear that like through this mic, or did it not do that? Blake, could you hear that thunder? Not at all. No. Okay, I can't hear you now though. Did that thunder mess something up?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Golly, I'm like, the thunder and lightning mess things up again. Okay. God, it's good to have thunder back. All right. So there was one quarterback hit, 2 run stuffs, 1 pressure. So we're at 4 acts of disruption, 1 TFL, 1 pressure. We're at 6, 1 run stuff. We're at 7. So these guys basically played, if you don't count the kneel downs at the very end, you don't count the penalty snaps, you don't count all the rest of that stuff, like one cockamamie site that I'm not going to name.
We'll get to it later, I'm sure.
Yeah. If you don't count that stuff, they played the starting offensive line played 70 snaps. DJ Campbell played 34 of the snaps at right guard. The other 36 snaps were played by Cole Hudson. So we got a good look at both of those guys. But only 7 acts of disruption allowed in this game. And I don't know off the top of my head when the last time that happened was, but I'll look back to last week versus Rice and just maybe just see like kind of how it was different, right? So Rice last week, that's the defensive one. Is this the offensive one? No, is this the offensive one? Yeah, so last week it was 1. So Kelvin Banks had a sack, a TFL, a run stuff. So that's 3 right there. Hayden Connor had 4 run stuff. So that's 7 already right there. Majors had 2 run stuffs and a QB hit, a false start. That's 11 right there. Oh, Hayden Connor had a face mask. That's 12 right there. DJ Campbell had a sack, a pressure, a QB hit, and a run stuff allowed. That's 16. He had a false start penalty. That's 17. And Christian Jones had a pressure allowed. That's 18. 18 acts of disruption versus Rice, and 7 versus Alabama. I mean, they didn't allow their first active disruption by a very skilled, very juiced up, very good, big, fast Alabama defense until let's see here. I'll just look at the actual OL grading chart. It's so the first TFL. Yeah, the first TFL occurred in the 4th series, like 22 plays into the game. Like it was a clean start. There was some stuff that happened at the very end whenever Texas in the 12th series, whenever they just had to, and commendably, when they had to start really running the ball there to just pound the clock and just try and keep the ball away from Alabama. That was where Hayden Connor got a few of his run stuffs allowed, where Christian Jones allowed his only active disruption on the game. Christian Jones was about to run the gamut here and not get any disruption for the whole game. There were 2 players on the Texas offense that allowed no disruption, and it's going to really surprise you as to who those guys were. But whenever I just think about this game and I juxtapose it versus Rice, you think, okay, what happened? What can possibly be different here? Because it was the same 5 dudes that ran out with the starters, right? It was Kelvin Banks, it was Hayden Connor, it was Jake Majors, it was DJ Campbell, it was Christian Jones. Same 5 dudes. Now they did have Cole Hudson rotate in with DJ Campbell throughout the course of this game. but I don't see that as being something where it's like that was the thing that tipped the scales. Like I don't think that was it. Just having one dude that was a substitute player at right guard. The fact was that DJ Campbell I think he played the best game of all.
Alex, do you usually see this big of an improvement from week 1 to week 2, or is this a complete outlier?
No, no, I've never done it. I mean, that's a good question. Let me just see. So Deep Dig 2022. We can go look at it. It's a good question. So the Deep Dig in 2022 offensive line grades by week. So the O-line grades by week. No, because last time they went versus ULM, they had a Deep Dig score of 77.3 on average. That went down to a 76.73 versus Alabama the next week. And it went down to a 76.9 versus UTSA, a 76.32 versus Tech. So they started out good versus a cupcake last year, and then had 3 down games before getting a relatively up game versus West Virginia, and then running a whole kind of series of up games: West Virginia, OU, Iowa State. The Deep Dig in 2021. We can just look back because I think it's pretty applicable just under Kyle Flood and Sark, right? So
yeah, for sure.
We just look at 2021, the offensive line grades by week. So that was versus the University of Louisiana. Is it still Louisiana Lafayette? I think I said ULL at the time. Was it still Louisiana?
I think they try to do UL now, right?
Yeah. So that was the average grade was a 75. You had Denzel Okafor played just totally unacceptably in that game. Christian Jones played an unacceptable game there. Majors was teetering on acceptability. And then you still had Angelau, Kerstetter. These guys had okay games, nothing great. But it was a worse game the next game versus Arkansas. And we all remember that.
God.
Yeah. We all remember that.
Sorry that we even had to bring that game up.
And as I'm thinking about this, I'm trying to think of what it is to just kind of start it off. And I mean, I think we probably just have to start with Christian Jones and how good he is now. And when I'm just looking at his grades from 2021, now this is just kind of coming to my mind. And you look at how he improved in 2022 and the player he's become now to where he's going to play in the NFL. It's a lock. He's probably going to go to the Senior Bowl.
Probably. Jim Nagy is all over him.
Nagy loves him.
Yeah,
But here's the thing: if Nagy loves him, he's getting good feedback from scouts.
He called him. What was his tweet at the game on Saturday? It was like, "This is what offensive tackles in the NFL look like." Christian Jones. Like,
was it a play that he shared, or was it just a picture?
It was pregame.
Okay. So the Senior Bowl had their scouts there, and they were taking the videos during the pregame kind of. Yeah. So that's an easy game to get to for them, being based out of Mobile.
Right.
I feel like, was it Ernest Hemingway or who was it that had the saying about bankruptcy? Where Blake, look this up, please.
Bankruptcy.
Look up Ernest Hemingway bankruptcy. It's like maybe somebody in the chat knows. It's like it happens gradually until it happens real fast or something. What is
Ernest Hemingway? How did you go bankrupt? 2 ways: gradually and then suddenly.
Gradually and then suddenly. I feel like that's sort of happening with the development of this offensive line. We've seen it. We've seen it. We've seen a gradual development from guys like Christian Jones, right? We've seen a gradual development from Kelvin Banks. After this game, I would say that we've seen a gradual development into what was a really good game for Jake Majors, right? We have Hayden Connor, who's not really developing with the same arc, but he's still playing reasonably well. Whenever we look at these grades and we look at what these grades actually mean, and as far as what the baseline expectation is, and then you have DJ Campbell, who last week I'm sitting here worried. I'm just like, well, we gotta worry that he's not as far up on the development arc as we thought he would be. And he's still going to be a good player. He's going to be a great player, great prospect. You can't, I didn't say you can't give up on them. Like I always say, I'll never tell you what you can and can't do. You live your own life. You do you. I'm not here to tell you. Like, I'm just here to talk about football and have some fun with my friends, right? But I was super worried. I'm like, well, the development arc with all of these guys, it feels like the baseline level at least has gotten to a point where we're seeing this great development from some of these key pieces. And if you can just get the development arc just up just a little bit with some of these guys that are considered the weakest link, because on an offensive line, you're only as strong as your weakest link, right? If that can happen, all of a sudden, the development of the group can happen suddenly, right? Because then you've got it. It's like you're strong as your weakest link. And once your weakest link can pop into that level where it's like the baseline is going to be good, all of a sudden you get a game like you got versus Alabama. And I don't know if DJ Campbell's going to be able to keep this up, because what DJ Campbell was able to do in this game compared to how he looked in the first game versus Rice it's like it was night and day, right? But when we go back to what Sark said at his press conference coming out of the Rice game and going into the Alabama game, do you remember what he said? He said, I'm not worried about the offensive line, and because I look at it and I see I forgot the exact word he said, but he said, like, I see a collection of random errors, right? Mm-hmm. A collection of random errors, and we went through it and we looked at when the errors happened.
Everything is fixable.
Right. And he said, and those little errors are fixable. Right. And so we said, but is that true? And we have the data here to look at, and we're going to spend the show looking at the data and talking about each of these guys player by player. And of course, getting into some of these other ancillary topics, best rock bands, best rock albums. But when we looked, we said, well, it's kind of true. Only on what was it? It was only on 20% of the plays that were badly blocked. Was it a systemic failure? Right. On the rest, it was simple one-offs. And so Sark was onto something. He's onto something.
He's right.
And he was right, man. It was super impressive that they got this fixed. And I know probably during the game, you probably didn't, you probably didn't notice too much. You weren't saying, damn, what's wrong with the offensive line? Why can't they block this guy? Why is this guy pinning his ears back, coming at Quinn with his hair on fire? I mean, were there times when Quinn was pressured? Sure. And you know what? It wasn't always because of the offensive line. That's 100% sure. Sometimes Alabama just overloaded them. And then whenever that happens, it's like, well, then you have an advantage and you get the ball out to your hot read. And that's what Quinn would do. And there were really only a couple instances that you look at and you say, oh man, like there was one, like Kelvin Banks, basically he had one penalty, but he basically had one play where he looked kind of, where he had a little bit of trouble versus number 15. And Christian Jones was looking like he was going to just run the gamut without even allowing any disruption. DJ Campbell didn't allow any disruption at all. Jake Majors didn't allow any disruption at all. And so you look and you're like, you got a couple things here. Next thing you know, man, you're running off the field at Alabama, and you have the biggest victory in years, the biggest victory under this coaching staff. Mm-hmm. Well, in hand. And the thing is, it's happened gradually. So I want to look back at Christian Jones, Blake, since you've taken me back here to the 2021 sheet. I want to go through how miserable Christian Jones played in the first year that Kyle Flood got here. And we're going to compare it to how he played in 2022. And we're going to compare it to where he sits now on the historical data sheet versus every other one of these guys. It was sitting at 69 of these guys. Now that we can add 5 new players onto this list that have hit the minimum snap threshold, we're talking about 74 different tenures at the University of Texas that I've charted that have a representative sample of 100 snaps. Now, DJ Campbell doesn't have 100 snaps yet. He only has 90, but I put him on the sheet anyway. He's close enough. And you can see where Christian Jones sits on that. And here's a spoiler for you. It's nothing short of amazing. So so let's get into it. And we're going to talk about it next.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the best defensive playmakers for the Texas program over the last decade. I'm talking about edge rusher Joseph Osai. Osai was one of the best players to come out of Tom Herman's 2018 recruiting class, although he was a low 4-star prospect who only ranked number 31 in the state by Rivals.com. Not a single recruiting service had him ranked as an elite prospect or inside of a national top 125 list. When we look at Osai's recruitment, it was pretty cut and dry fairly early on that there were 3 schools that stood out above the rest. From the summer of 2017 all the way into October and November, Osai kept a top 3 of Texas, Texas A&M, and Notre Dame. Of the Longhorns, Osai said that Todd Orlando and Oscar Giles used the following sales pitch on him. Quote, "They tell me I could be that Nashawn Hughes type of player. When I watch some of these close games that they've been in, I can place myself in that defense and see myself making the moves to finish those plays. I watch how I could impact the defense and picture helping some of those close games be wins." The battle eventually turned into a Texas versus Texas A&M battle, with Tom Herman's staff taking on a Jimbo Fisher staff that had just replaced Kevin Sumlin. In fact, the Aggies had been considered the heavy frontrunner for Osai, but the dynamics of his recruitment changed the moment Sumlin was fired from Texas A&M. It was the opening that the Longhorns dearly needed and received. In fact, by the time January had rolled around, Orangebloods was reporting from an A&M source that the Longhorns had taken the lead for Osai. On the last weekend before signing day, Osai took a surprise official visit to Oregon, but it still turned out to be a battle between the Longhorns and Aggies all the way up until signing day, when he eventually chose the Longhorns.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Oh, yes.
Ooh,
Football
Specs.
with friends.
Unbelievable.
Fun as hell. Hold on. What are you talking about?
The Specs app. Look at this.
Oh, the
I
Specs
just
app.
order, get it delivered to my house. Amazing.
That looks fun as hell. I mean, Specs, talk about a revolution that Specs is leading here.
60 years of Specs.
60 years. I mean, I see my mom here in the chat, and I mean, I can remember when I was just a tiny boy, right? A little boy just sitting in her lap, and she'd look at me and she'd just say, "Son, Specs has world-class savings. Like, it's how we do world-class savings that are all about you." And I would say, "You know, Mom, thank you for that." It's just true, man. It's you go to Specs, it's where everybody knows your name. Like I told you, the guys there are always so happy to see you. Whether you need tequila, whether you need wine, whether you need Miller Lite, you know.
Get loaded up for
It's
your
just,
tailgate
but
this weekend.
those are the things I go and get. I've been talking to trying to get some gin lately. We've already discussed this. Bourbon, every time I drink it, it's like, nah. Hey, are you guys like that? Whenever you drink bourbon, it just hits you a little bit extra hard. I think everybody probably has something like that. That is maybe something that is a little bit, you know, maybe makes them feel a little bit. It's the brown liquors for me, man.
I feel like tequila does me like that.
Oh no, man! That stuff's good for your soul, right? That's another thing that I always tell my son. You know, make sure you study hard in class. Make sure and say your prayers, and just remember that the tequila is good for your soul, and where you get it is Specs. And so, son, here's to you. Here's the savings. Shop Specs. All right. Let's see here. So we have somebody saying we have a bunch of it. So, oh God. Hacker with his first terrible take on here. He says the best rock album is Vitalogy. I mean, I got that album and I was like, oh no, you're telling me Pearl Jam sucks now? it ended up growing on you eventually, I guess.
I feel like there are some older Metallica fans who would probably say the same thing about the Black Album, right? Isn't there that crowd of guys?
Everybody knew that thing was great. I mean, some people would be like, awesome. I was like Master of Puppets, Ran Justice for All, or Ride the Lightning. It's like they went soft, but they rock. Dude, those guys that are original fans, they go to Metallica albums now, they rock out to, it's like, you know, Enter Sandman and Sad But True and all. Like, let's see, the back half of Pearl Jam 10 album sets it apart. Dude, I mean, that's the thing about I think Jeremy was a B-side on that album. I know Garden was a backside on that album. Release was the last song on that album. I think Kevin Kevin McGuire's on to
You
something
don't even
for
have
sure.
to allow.
That noise gate working well, says Jareth Mulholland. Okay, so
We got a couple more albums here. Let's knock them out. Foreigner 4. Where would you put Foreigner 4?
I don't even know what that is.
Like the Foreigner album 4, that's got like Jukebox Hero on it, right? That's not your kind of rock. Let's see.
Yeah,
Great
man.
White, Psycho City. I don't know a lot about
Great White, kind of Great White, little bit more glam rocky for me, I think. Great White was that? What was their biggest hit? Was that they didn't sing "Here I Go Again on My Own"? That was
that was White Snake.
That was White Snake.
Yeah.
Which one was Great White?
Great White.
Of course. Oh, text guy says, never mind Nirvana. Of course. It's a very, very good one. When I first heard that, I said, what the hell are these guys trying to do here? My guy, Money B, hit that like button. Please. Yes. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, please email me, alex@rosterwatch.com. Thanks to everybody who has reached out. Very sorry to be such an unskilled salesman with all this stuff. I wish I had better information to give you guys. Just like, if you want to sponsor the show, sponsor the show. Alex@rosterwatch.com. Only taking a few more there, and then we have to talk about Christian Jones, because I said it was just a great in the business, Blake, that's what you call a tease, right? You call it a tease. All right, let me share my screen and I'll just show you guys something. Okay, you see this? You see all these players?
Yeah,
the players that Texas has on its roster right now are highlighted in black. And after 2 games, after 137 snaps graded, Christian Jones so far this season has the highest snaps per disruption caused in the history of the whole thing. So it's through 2 games. It's not much, but through 2 games, he's allowed one pressure and 1 run stuff. So in that Rice game, whenever everybody was, Hayden Connor was letting number 75 or whoever come up his play side shoulder over and over and over again. DJ Campbell's getting put on ice skates and being, bent backwards. Jake Majors can't drive anybody off the ball. He can't do anything. Kelvin Banks even has sort of a down game. Christian Jones allows 1 active disruption. Then in his last game, only 1 active disruption. His nearest competition right now. And look, Blake, it feels unsustainable. It feels unsustainable, but it's like, there it is. He's ahead of Trey Hopkins in his senior season when he was an elite 57.1. All these guys that are like above 40, these are all right. Look, NFL, Trey Hopkins, NFL, Connor Williams, Kelvin Banks will be NFL. Sam Cosmi will be NFL. Taylor Doyle, no. I mean, he wasn't NFL. He was a good college player. Zach Shackelford, NFL, practice squad, but NFL, right? Donald Hawkins, NFL. Junior Angelau, still don't know. Jake McMillan, no. Christian Jones, yes. It's like you're talking about, this has been pretty predictive.
Well, and you see these NFL guys that are on this list multiple times in the top 20, right? Those are the guys.
Sure, like Cosmi had a couple of these. Derek Kerstetter, now he was on. Now he wasn't top 10, but he had a couple of these, and he did go on to make a practice squad with the Buffalo Bills. We've talked often about Parker Braun, right? He was just too small, but good college player. You got Connor Williams showing up on here again. Cosmi kind of showing up here again in this top 20. Connor Williams in this top 20. Jake Majors working his way up here is big news. But it's just interesting when you look at, say, let's just look at Christian Jones. So Christian Jones Christian Jones is a junior. That was him as a junior. We have him as a sophomore. So Christian Jones is a sophomore. Allowed disruption once every 18.9 snaps, putting him down here at the very bottom, right? This is when, so I guess that's 2021, right? Because this is senior, freshman, sophomore. Is there not a junior? Maybe I must have had him listed as a junior when I should have had him listed as so sophomore, junior.
COVID year in there somewhere, right?
Senior, super senior. Okay.
Super senior, yeah.
So sophomore, whatever, 18.9. Okay. Now, so it would be so junior, Kyle Flood gets here. He's sitting at 23.2 or 23.4, right? Not the best. But the average of these guys, of all the guys who have done this out of the, what is now 73 of them, the average snaps per disruption allowed, it's like 29.4 over the, like that's your average dude in this metric. Still well below average, right? Well below average in snaps per disruption. The very next year he comes in, jumps all the way up here to 40.6, right? Borderline top 12, or is it top? I'm sorry, borderline top. He's borderline top 10. He's number 11 all time. Now he started out this season as number 1 all time, and of course he's going to come down from there. It's going to take one bad game where he gives up 3 pressures. But guess what? He's got off to such a start that it's like, even if he does, like he's built himself in a little bit of cushion here to where he can have a couple busted plays and still find himself right here on the very, very top echelon of everything that's.
How far do you think he's moved up NFL draft boards in just last year and then the first 2 weeks of this year? I mean, it's been a meteoric rise from off the radar to the top of the radar.
Whenever he decided to come back for this year, I thought to myself, I wonder if he's going to be drafted, right? Like, I wonder if he's going to be drafted whenever he leaves and go, because I know he's going to go to pro day. I wonder if he's going to get a combine invite, stuff. Those are all the things that we were talking about, the things that we were thinking. You know, as we go on with this show and we get into that process, we'll have those kinds of conversations about a lot of these players. Whenever he came back whenever Kyle Flood first got his hands on him, though, in that year, I thought he shouldn't be starting. I said, what are they doing? You know, what are they doing putting him back out there? I forgot what the other options were that they had in that season, but I remember thinking to myself that, you know, golly, in 2021, I'm just like, you know, Hayden Connor, I think, had gotten here early that year and he'd looked good getting some work at tackle in the springtime. You had Andre Carrick, who at the time was kind of looking pretty good, right? Denzel Okafor was still around during that point in time. You always had the idea, well, Derek Kerstetter, he's played tackle before. Could he maybe play, right? Like you have other guys, you know, you have Jake Majors who plays center. Like, does Kerstetter have to play guard? Like there were a bunch of different, like, I was like, man, Christian Jones, are you kidding me? And in that 2021 season, we look at these games, Christian Jones, the only guys on offense that were worse than him as far as their average grade in the deep dig. So this is how it went. Junior Angelau, his average grade in the deep dig was a 76.55. Kerstetter was a 76.31. This was a bad offensive line, dude. Hayden Connor's average in the deep dig was a 75.6. So still acceptable, right? Let's go here to the sheet so I can just show you guys what we're talking about, these actual grades. Was that a question that I need to get to?
Oh,
Like, sorry.
It was just Cody talking about Jim Nagy doesn't invite guys that he doesn't want to go in the top 5 rounds.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Length, size, current output, yeah.
So here's the grading scale, right? We talked about it before. All these guys that were like, 75 down here, that's baseline competency. Here in the 76 to 79, that's games in this area represent good to very good D1 play, right? And if entire offensive line plays in that area over the course of a game, there's not going to be any detriment to what the offense wants to do, play calling wise, everything like that. You get up just above 79, you get up like 79, 80, you're probably going to get drafted, right? You're probably going to get drafted or at least be an NFL prospect. If you just kind of peek up into games in there, you're probably going to be somebody that they're looking at for a practice squad. Now, if you get games up into the 80.5 to 84, that's more like, you know, Kelvin Banks has done that. Christian Jones now has actually done that last year. Not this year yet, but close. That's like, you can go high in the draft if you test well, and then anything above 84 up here, like 87, 88, 90. That's like it's over. You're a top 10 pick. So when we look at what that team was that year, that was a bad offensive line. We're talking to people teetering here on the edge of baseline competency. It's almost just like what my studies and my back testing have shown is that even if you kind of operate at a level of like 75, even to 76 or 76.5, it's still, you can have an offensive game plan, you know, even though the players are all playing at baseline. If there's nobody that stands out as any better than that kind of level, you're not going to get much done. And Sark didn't get much done in that offense in 2021, right? I forgot what his record was. It sucked. Dude, what was their record his first year?
5-7, right?
So that's all to say. It's like we're talking about these guys and we're talking about their cumulative overall averages from that season, and you're just like, whoa, man, like, how, Jake Majors was 75.31, Carrick was at 75.17, Christian Jones was at 75.08. He's like right there at baseline, right? A baseline player. Okafor averaged a 74.36. Logan Parr averaged a 73.8. So 2022, you have Christian Jones now averaging a 78.03, the second best on the team, right? Mm-hmm. And the worst on the team, Cole Hudson, averaging a 75.07. So it's like you start getting all these guys into that baseline competency range, into that good range, this NFL draft. Banks at almost an 80, Christian Jones at a 78.03, Hayden Connor at basically a 77 out of 76.99, DJ Campbell 76.92, Jake Majors 76.23, Connor Robertson played one game, 76, Cole Hudson 75.07.
Man, that's just 1 year under Flood. One year under Flood, and it's a revolution on the offense.
But then you look at this year. And from week 1 to week 2, and clearly, man, I mean, we have a long way to go, but Cole Hudson didn't play well in this game. Cole Hudson had some great plays. Overall, he didn't play too well. Certainly the worst guy on the team. So he only has one game here. He scored just under 75. He got a 74.83. That's really teetering on the edge of acceptability. I think it's probably fine. We've talked about it before. That 74.5. Kind of 74.75. There's a little bit of grace and a little bit of leeway there just because this system was developed for NFL prospects, not just for grading guys, just for good enough college players, right? So we have Hayden Connor, who is like, and also consider this, right? In the first game, Hayden Connor played miserably. I came on here. I said, man, we have to have a tough talk. Hey, guys, we have to have a tough talk today. I'm sorry. It's not going to be an easy talk. Like, I know they came off a win. I know everybody's excited about Alabama. I'm like, but hey, look, man, it's like, this is like, I'm here to shoot you straight. Hayden Connor, Jake Majors, DJ Campbell, awful. It's some of the worst.
It was last Wednesday. It was all bad news for an hour.
Some of the worst I've seen. And so whenever we look at the averages, right, they're going to have those averages baked in, and that's really bad, right? We talk about the old millstone around the neck, like they're going to have to bring up their averages from, and they're going to have to deal with that game, right? It's like you fail the old test at the beginning of the semester. It's like you got to do better on your tests to bring up the average.
Kill that midterm.
Yeah, and so even this year, it's like, check this out. Christian Jones now, his average over 2 games is sitting at a 79, a 78.99. So his average is up. Kelvin Banks, his average is a little bit down just because he's played 2 games that are, Kelvin Banks, just fine games, but Kelvin Banks, I sort of expect a baseline up there around a 78 or 79. And that's where he's operating is like 78.5. And then even with these bad games under their belts, DJ Campbell's averaging a 76.82. Jake Majors is averaging a 75.84. Hayden Connor now averaging a 75.27. And Cole Hudson, he only had this one game, again, a little bit tough, 74.83. But you look at that and you're like, dude, it's like things have come together suddenly. Because to be able to get the grades that they got in this game, to where the worst guy who was not a rotational starter was Hayden Connor, and he got a 76.57. We just said earlier, if you get up to 76.5 and everybody plays at about that level or a little bit higher, you're not going to have any problems. So what if you have your worst guy playing like that, and the rest of these guys are all playing like dudes who are going to at least get invites to NFL tryouts? I mean, things can happen, like they happen slowly and then they happen suddenly. It's like I was telling my kids when we were coming home from school today. My daughter was asking about like, well, is this rain? Is it going to fill the lake back up? And I said, well, no, honey, like it's not. That isn't how it works, because the rain is the lake is, what is the lake down? I can't even see the thing. Did you update it today? Yeah. So almost 51 feet. My kids are just as nervous about this damn lake as I am. And they were asking, like, oh, maybe the lake will fill back up. And I said, well, no, that's not how it works, because what needs to happen first before we need to have a flood, right? We need a big sudden thing to happen. But listen, that can't happen unless we get this little bit of rain first, because why? Well, we got to get the ground saturated. We got to make sure once the ground is set, this is like, it's something that you would tell a little kid, but this applies to this Longhorns offensive line. Like the ground has to be wet enough, right, to where whenever the water hits the ground, it doesn't soak into the ground and therefore has to roll downhill. And when it all has to roll downhill, where does it go? To the low-lying areas. What is in the low-lying areas? It's the lake, And once this can begin to happen a little bit slowly, things happen gradually, but then they happen suddenly. The groundwork has been laid for this offensive line, and it feels like what the sudden flood was just the fact that DJ Campbell played the way that he did.
What a coincidence that their coach's name is Flood.
Right? Right. It's like, but the way that DJ Campbell played. So maybe, I guess, since we started out talking about Christian Jones, let me just say one other thing about Christian Jones. He's putting guys on their back and he's pinning them and he's landing on top of them and he's demoralizing the hell out of them. He really is playing with a nasty, nasty streak. And it's not something that we've necessarily seen that much out of him before. He's always been a good run blocker. He's always been fine. You've begun to notice as he's gotten a little bit older and gotten more technical. I remember, like, one of the things that we liked about him when he was coming out as a prospect, Blake? Wasn't he a soccer player or something in high school? I remember thinking, I was like, dude, Blake, make yourself useful. The thing about soccer, Christian Jones, you've always said that, there's something untapped there in his feet that we're beginning to see that felt like it's gotten unlocked a little bit under Coach Flood. Is there anything about soccer? Am I just making this all up? Is that just some fever dream I've had about Christian Jones?
It's probably you're probably.
I think about these guys way too much, man.
There you go. Glenn Keller knows. Soccer player. There you
go. Soccer player. Okay, Glenn Keller. Thank you for that. There was always something a little bit untapped in Christian Jones' feet. And that was something that you always kind of noticed. But I hate to say, and I don't want to say it like this, but I'll just say it. Like, we're all friends here. I always thought he was kind of soft. I thought he was kind of soft. I clearly my opinion on that changed, but like I said, man, I was clamoring it, and thank God I'm not the offensive line coach, and it's Coach Flood, and he saw it in the guy. At the time, I thought he was gonna be like, dude, of course you're gonna like him. He looks like $1 million. You can see a million things in him. Once you see Christian Jones, though, like, we've seen this. Like, he's gonna figure it out. I have the experience of knowing, at least, I'm not their coach. I'm not there with them every day, but I've at least watched every play. I've analyzed it. I've graded it. I was like, he'll find out sooner or later. He's gonna end up putting in Andre Carrick. Because, like, some cockamamie idea. It would have been so ridiculous, But he saw it. But I don't even think that Coach Flood would say that when he first came in that this dude was a hard man. That he was you think about him now, I mean, he's a nasty SOB. And so that's something that's just a lot different, man. On these. Do you know what his favorite thing to do is on these outside zone runs? The players that he goes up against on the edges, they are so concerned with his ability just to lock on to the middle of their chest plate and just get off at his zone angle that they kind of try and just go way outside. And when they do that, Christian Jones just does what every offensive tackle is taught to do with the wide zone. Like they say, he just made your job easier, right? Just to take that angle with him, you're getting him out of the play, latch onto him, and just take him to the sideline. Let your running back then decide where to cut off of that block, And Christian Jones does it, dude. He plays with motor. He's putting these guys in the dirt, man. He's gotten all these knockdowns. Was it 2 pin blocks in this game? Was it 2 pin blocks? Two pin blocks, 2 knockdowns. Just, I mean, it's like, what can you what can you say about that? You know, it's been a sight to behold. And then he had the 1 pin in the 2 knockdowns last week. That's 3, dude, Blake. That's 3 times. Do you realize that? I guess people might not realize. Like a lot of these guys, we got 74 of these guys that I've done since the time that I've been here doing this. Like probably half of those guys go a whole season without getting 1 pin block. A pin block is where you take a man and you put him on his back and you fall on that man and maybe put your shoulder in your arm and stuff like into his throat.
And you know what I mean? This in Tuscaloosa against Alabama.
Yeah. So I'm just like, he's playing awesome. And I'm not coming in here saying that he's better than Kelvin Banks. He's not better. He's not a better prospect than Kelvin Banks. He's played better to start the season than Kelvin Banks has, though. And, you know, it is what it is. Kelvin Banks has much better tools. Kelvin Banks is the better player. He's got the better track record. I get it. But, dude, this whole thing with Christian Jones, the way he's been able to develop, it's been a slow bake. But man, has it ever been worth it? And you know, and thank God that I wasn't in charge of the personnel decisions at the point in time in 2021.
Thank God for Kyle.
Whenever that was,
it's been so telling this week. You've seen all these Alabama reporters and guys in the media. They're talking about how Bama misses the Sarkisian offense, but more than anything, they miss Kyle Flood.
Well, and here's the thing, Blake. This is getting a little off subject, and this is like kind of cockamamie, but I mean, these are the things I think. These are the things I think about, man. It's like it's a cockamamie show sometimes. Like if you were just to imagine in your mind's eye, right? Theater of the mind. Like Texas goes on this year, and let's just they do it big. Like I'm not saying it's a national champion, like just like. Monster year for Sark, big year. Everybody at Alabama, remembers him or whatever. And let's just say that Nick Saban just bought his big house down there in Florida, $17 million mansion, and he's like, dude, maybe they have a down year. Maybe this first Texas game was sort of the sign of that. Milroe doesn't look that good. Like, could have a quarterback issue. He's like, man, screw these people. They're like these ungrateful people. I'm leaving, and Bama goes and hires Sark. Let's just say that. Okay. I don't think it would happen. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure that he would want that. We've talked about what a pressure filled job, but let's just say it. Okay. Let's just say I was having the starting experiment in my mind. Wouldn't you want Kyle Flood to be the head coach if you couldn't have Sark? Would there need to be even a search then? I'd be interested to hear from the chat. To me, it'd be like, well, of course you have Coach Flood be the head coach. I mean, look what he's done. If he can build an offensive line like this, if he can develop an offensive line like this, you got to think that he could develop just an offensive scheme, a culture, an identity. That stuff is built. That culture, that identity, that stuff's built through the lines of scrimmage. Of course, you have your other stuff with the speed and playing with speed and flying to the football and a culture of gang tackling and stuff like that, right? Well, yeah. I'm not saying that Sark's going to Alabama.
Would you rather have Kyle Flood or Coach Prime at Texas?
I think it's a cockamamie idea to even think about it. But yeah. If that were to happen, are you really going to find Coach Flood is great, man. Texas is really, really lucky to have him. I would just say, man,
he's incredible. Yeah.
I mean, dude. I mean, people are saying no.
Bama is really missing him. Really badly.
Hey, look, people are saying no. Look, I'm just like, hey, I'm just here to take little ideas, float them all out into space, see what you guys think. It's just, hey, just an idea, See Charlie Strong. Charlie Strong was a defensive-minded head. Don't even give me on Charlie.
You want to do next segment on Charlie Strong?
I could definitely tell you that when I went to the Louisville Pro Day for Teddy Bridgewater and saw how things were organized around there. That was my first.
And how weird was it to see him on the sidelines for Alabama against Texas last Saturday?
I didn't notice him during the game and during the during the rewatch. I just watched the actual game thing. So
right.
I haven't noticed.
I noticed him a couple times. I was like, "Oh, that's right."
Yeah. Paul says, "Alex, everyone blaming Alex for a hypothetical." Hey, man, it doesn't matter. It's football with friends, man. It's fun as hell. We're all having fun here. And listen, we've gotten through an hour of the show, and we've talked about one offensive lineman, Christian Jones. So I think it's time to. I think it's probably time to move on if we're going to get to all this.
Next hour, Kelvin Banks.
We are going to get to him next.
Corey Redding, the linebacker from Galena Park, North Shore High School, USA Today rated him as the best high school defensive player in the nation. That's incredible. Today, he verbally committed to play his college ball for Max Brown and the Horns. He's the kind of defensive difference maker the Texans hadn't been able to get in years past, so it appears things are changing.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the most important recruiting wins in the history of the Texas program. Former five-star defensive end Corey Redding out of Galena Park, North Shore. To completely understand the significance of Redding's commitment, you have to understand the context surrounding the recruitment. Redding's recruitment occurred just 2 years after another five-star defensive end, David Warren, bypassed the Longhorns in favor of Florida State. New Texas head coach Mack Brown was trying to put the finishing touches on a number one ranked recruiting class, but he had to overcome the stigma that great defensive players didn't go to Texas and that the Longhorns couldn't go into the Houston area and land a truly elite player that didn't play his football in the suburbs. It wasn't going to be easy for the Longhorns, as Redding's top three included Colorado and Arizona, with the Wildcats having a big edge with Corey's brother Chris already in the Arizona program, which had his mom wanting both players to play their college careers together. Colorado was actually viewed as a potential party spoiler, but while Redding was on his official visit to Boulder, CU head coach Rick Neuheisel took the Washington job. And that basically eliminated the Buffs. That left Arizona and Texas to duke it out. And when push came to shove, Redding couldn't leave the Lone Star State. Moments before he announced his decision, Redding informed his mom that he was selecting the Longhorns. He told her, quote, "I'm a Texas boy. I want to go to college in Texas, marry a Texas woman, and have Texas babies," while she broke down in tears at the news. Moments later, he told the world the news.
Corey Redding, in 1998 9-9 season, will be attending the University of Texas.
Redding's commitment sent shockwaves throughout the recruiting landscape as Mack Brown's dominance in recruiting in Texas began that day and rarely slowed down for the next decade and a half. The Longhorns finished with the number one overall recruiting class in 1999, with the USA Today's Defensive Player of the Year representing the cherry on top of a very tasty sundae.
Spent time with him and myself, and I was like, I want you to put it on my mind the next morning when I wake up. When I woke up, my hands was holding up that hook 'em sign.
Oh, yes, football with friends. It's fun as hell, man. Welcome back, everybody. It's a big Wednesday. It's a hump day. So happy to be here. Happy to be here with you guys. What am I doing? I sound like a 1990s FM radio like DJ. Hump day. Blow the horn. Let's see here. Alex had to dye his hair again if Stafford isn't brought up before Friday.
Man, we do have a lot to talk about with Stafford, but we're not sure if we'll get to it this segment. But
15 targets to Puka Nacua, man. Golly. It's connecting with that guy, okay? I think that Puka Nacua is like an older soul, right? Because he went to BYU, right? So he probably go on a mission and do all that stuff. He's probably a little bit different than these kids that always have their noses in their phones. But yeah, Kelly Stafford, explosive interview on that podcast. We'll definitely talk about that.
It was jarring.
Do you know what can be just a what do you say? It's jarring, Blake. Do you know what's jarring to think about? Paying 3% to sell your house whenever you can do it with Val Garcia at Valen Realty for free. Oh God.
Val
Garcia. Look at that man. Look at Val Garcia. Just look at Val Garcia in the eyes and tell me that is not a man that you can trust.
One of us.
Hey, definitely one of us, and certainly a great friend to the people in education and in the ministries whose homes he will sell for free in the DFW area. So happy to hear that some of you guys, Blake, I told you, I'm so happy to hear that some of you guys have reached out to Val Garcia. That's what we're interested in doing here is bringing business, sending users, sending customers to one of us. And Val Garcia certainly is one of us at Valen Realty. If you tell them that you heard about the show here on Football with Friends, even if you're not a member of the ministry, if you're not in the education sector, you can still get half off of the sale of your home. So 1.5%, we're talking like $12,000 that you can possibly save here. And you get to work with Val Garcia. You can call him around the clock. He told me the first time I talked to him, he said most of his business is done between 8 p.m. and midnight. I said, 8 p.m. and midnight, Val Garcia, you're burning the midnight oil. He said, look, man, I got to burn the midnight oil to do this. Most people have to work during the day, right? My work is whenever they get home, I'm dealing with other real estate agents. I got to deal with them. I got to find out what they say on their end of it. Like, I deal with each client personally, even though I have a team of 12 people around DFW. So let's say you're down in Burleson or you're down in, some other, some far-flung area of DFW. I don't know the area as well. Blake, what's an area of DFW that's a bit far-flung? Crandall.
Denton, Texas.
Yeah. Right. Stuff like this. Val Garcia will have somebody right there. Lickety split, man. He'll get your house staged. He'll set up the open house. He'll do it all for you. Okay. From stem to stern, bow to stern, head to tail to snout. Literally. Val Garcia uses every bit of these black bear that he kills too. Black bear chicken fried steaks.
He kills those things with his bare hands.
One of us. Okay. Val Garcia, again, ValenRealty.com, 469-647-8729. Oh, gosh, Central Texas Aviator. This guy's, there we go. The merch, it could be on its way. We'll see. I got to get some stuff from Blake, and I got to find out some special things about, logos and I don't know, all the rest of this stuff, but I'm going to get back to this dude. Shout out to him too, and if he's watching, got to get LCRA to sponsor the show. That would be an absolute no. You guys are just now trying to just get me. You're asking about LCRA. Asking about
somebody's talking about a PFF sponsorship.
Somebody's talking about these. Seth Barrow says Burleson represent. All right,
there you go.
Cool.
There you go.
All right, let's talk. So let's go from right to left and talk about Mr. DJ Campbell.
Woo.
Now there was one. So DJ Campbell played 34 snaps in this. Was it 34 snaps? I'm just kind of going off the top of my dome here. As usual, man. I've just done the data. I haven't really done much analysis. That's what I'm here to just going through what my brain kind of thinks at the time. So on the Alabama offensive line sheet here, so DJ Campbell didn't have a negatively graded play for the first two series. After that, so out of the first two series, he had one baseline play, one good play, one baseline play, one good play, one baseline play, one baseline play, one great play, one great play, one baseline play, one good play, one great play, one baseline, one baseline, one good. He played excellent to start this game. He came back in right before the end of the half for the final, the fifth series, before it came to half. And on the first outside zone run play, I graded him negatively on that one. After half, he had one baseline play, one bad play, one significantly kind of bad play, one baseline play, one good play, one bad play, one good play. In the beginning of the 10th series, or the 10th series was only one play. What was that?
That was the interception.
That was the Jonathan touchdown.
Yes.
That was an amazing play. That was a two-bagger. That was the best, I think it was the highest graded play of the game for him or anybody else. No, because on the one pin block, that's amazing. The final play of the 9th drive and the first play of the 10th drive were the two best block plays of the game. One from Christian Jones, one from DJ Campbell. And then with his next drive, baseline, good, baseline, good. No disruption allowed. In the deep dig this week, he scores what was it? Sorry, guys. It's like ever since that lightning struck, it's been kind of hard. I usually have everything pulled up super easy. You guys watch the show. It's never super easy about this. Okay. He scored a 79.53, the best score on the team. So he goes from a 74.1 in a completely unacceptable game to a game where it looks like he's going to be an NFL draft prospect already as a college sophomore.
Game 1 against Rice, game 2 against Alabama. It's like that rise happens. That's just unbelievable from all these guys.
At the very beginning, he had me a small bit worried when I saw one play where he didn't really show the anchor that I was hoping to see the improvement from. With the, like we kept talking about last week about him getting put on skates, right? When in the pass pro. And he's always going to be better in the run game. He's always going to be better in the run game. But his anchor in the pass game this time was much better. The way that, and this the consistent kind of theme here that we'll continue to discuss as we talk about how these guys each played was just their ability to pick up the stunts. They did such a good job, man. Like we talked about it last week about how, if there's one thing about these guys, Jake Majors, Hayden Connor, like that's a little bit of a brain trust over there, right? They're like, those guys are smart dudes. Kelvin Banks operates on a level all his own. He's just like, I wouldn't call him the same kind of, because he doesn't get by on his smarts the same way like a guy like Jake Majors does, but he just has the natural instincts. He's just like, he does things right. He's just a natural, right? Jake Majors isn't a natural. Hayden Connor is, maybe he's not a natural like Kelvin Banks, but he's kind of a little bit of a mix of those kind of two. But still like really, really smart dude. And whenever you start getting Christian Jones, he starts calling out protections and kind of pointing at guys and nudging at DJ Campbell and stuff. You start to see it's like, well, when DJ Campbell has people around him that, are taking this thing seriously and letting him know what to expect and stuff like that. You getting your head in a swivel, getting your foot in a bucket to your leverage side. He does it. I honestly think, man, maybe just during Rice, it could have been like the same thing we talked about with Sark about how, he didn't set up those deep balls for Quinn very well. He just said, look, we got this Ferrari. We got this Corvette, Xavier Worthy. I've been seeing it all summer, all fall. I want the fans to see it. Let's just send them on a 9 route. It's Rice. And then you get it to where it's like, well, Rice game plan for this game too. Like they have a couple ideas about what's going to happen here. They're not just going to roll over and let you do it. Maybe the team sort of had that. I mean, maybe the team sort of mirrored the way that I sort of viewed the way that Sark could have been thinking just based on the way that he had scripted that first sort of couple series of that game. And if that was the case, like they probably just weren't taking it seriously. It's like, hey man, if the Rice guy stunts and twists, it's like it's fine. We'll figure. Christian Jones wasn't pointing at guys looking over DJ Campbell, being like, dude, make sure you know what I'm saying. It wasn't like that. Like it was in this game. The communication was a lot better. It's sort of a long way of saying that, but I think the communication was a lot better because their level, like their senses were heightened. They'd come in prepared for what they anticipated being a major task, right? And they lived up to it, and they played really, really well. Now what's gonna be the big question is, well, I mean, versus Wyoming, are we gonna get that same level of intensity? And I would just like to think that once you see it once, and once you get the plaudits that you're gonna get for this, look, they're not gonna put Cole Hudson back in there over DJ Campbell now at this point. It's the Anthony Hill genie out of the bottle, right? I mean, Blake, don't you think it's like, all right, because Cole Hudson, and what I mean about the Anthony Hill genie out of the bottle, if you don't like, we talked about it yesterday with Anthony Hill. All right, so Maurice Blackwell, the other linebacker, right? It's like the speed linebacker guy, big hitter. He can play off the edge. He can play in space, just like Anthony Hill is in his sub packages right now. You don't want to Wally Pip the guy, but now you've seen this out of Anthony Hill. You're like, well, what am I going to take this dude off the field? It's like, no. Who am I? Like, I'm not some moron that works for PFF, right? I'm the coach. I'm the coach of the Texas Longhorns. Like, how can I take this guy off the football field? Speaking of PFF, what did did they have DJ Campbell graded high? Have you seen anything about that?
Very high, yeah. Well, I actually pulled it pulled up because Ketch was talking about it yesterday. He went from a 59.4 against Rice to a 74.7 against Alabama.
What does that even mean? Does it break it up between pass blocking and run blocking?
I don't have a sub to PFF, so I don't know anything more than this graphic.
Well, let's just see
We
if
looked
they
at
do
it
it.
yesterday,
I mean,
right?
remember PFF that said David Benda and Ethan Burke were the worst players on the whole team.
Yeah, we looked at it yesterday.
What is wrong with these people? Let's see. I'm just gonna look myself now that we've already mentioned it, and you can start the counter over. It's fine. That's okay. So for pass blocking, they have So they have DJ Campbell as the second worst pass blocker on the team. Cole Hudson way underneath him. I mean, it's like spot the lie. I mean, he was probably not as. Did they give him? They gave. Huh. So they had Christian. So they for their pass, for their run blocking, they have DJ Campbell by far the best. So I mean, that's probably not the. I can't say I disagree with that too much, right? I mean, I don't think he was as miserable in pass blocking as they're kind of making him out to be.
You heard it here first. PFF spot on with their analysis of DJ.
Don't get that out of your mouth, Blake.
All right, that's enough trolling.
Cole Hudson, dude, he had two really awesome plays, and I'm sure you guys might have seen them. I'm sure that they were plays that you noticed because they were both on. One was on a pin and pull on an outside zone where he was in free space where he got the knockdown. Or no, that wasn't a knockdown, but it was where he completely cleared it out on the on one of the CJ Baxter runs. And then the other one was not on the pin and pull, but it was on. So basically what they do is they have this old school, just traditional man, like kick out block from the guard on the pull, trap kind of design that they do. That's one of their pass blocking, one of their pass block sets where the guard comes out, everybody else blocks down, guard comes around, kicks out who's ever coming this way. And he got a big knockdown on one of those plays out in open space. And so I could see people saying like, man, Cole Hudson had some plays, and he did have some plays. He also he allowed, what was the disruption he allowed? So 36 snaps. Let me just go back to my sheet here. 36 snaps. He allowed one TFL and one QB pressure. He did have that one knockdown that we talked about. On 36 snaps, that means you're allowing disruption once every 18 snaps. Okay, so whenever we think about the sheet we talked about earlier and the historical data sheet, so that's Deep Dig 2023.
You said the average on that sheet was what, 27?
Was it 27.1 or something?
So I mean, and 29, I think it was.
So, but here's the deal: like DJ Campbell, look at this: target share by game, OL snaps per disruption, historical comparison. Okay, so look at this. DJ Campbell is the exact same right now after 90 snaps at 18. The difference is DJ Campbell played that first game versus Rice, that miserable game, and DJ Campbell was down here at the very bottom underneath this worst Tristan Nicholson season. He was down here at 11.8. So he raised it up in this game. Did DJ Campbell it's that the same thing. You fail the test to start the semester, you're gonna have to work your way out of it, right? Hayden Connor's still working his way out of it. DJ Campbell's at least now above Hayden Connor, and he's on his way up. The question with DJ Campbell is just going to be, is this the new normal? God, I hate that term. It reminds me of the pandemic and stuff. But is this the new, is this DJ Campbell? Can we expect this? Can he elevate his game to this level, game in and game out? Because if he does, even though this looks really, really low right here, this thing's going to creep up every week. And by next week, he'll be up here with the, Elijah Rodriguez's of the world. And by the next week, he'll be up here with like the Cedric Flowerses and the, Christian Jones whenever he was first met Kyle Flood. And pretty soon, by the end of the year, he'll probably be average because he does have DJ Campbell, despite the fact that he got through this game without allowing any disruption, we have seen over the course of his time at Texas that whenever he gets in there, he makes really good plays, and then sometimes he really blows plays. It's just like as he continues to develop, that could change, right? And as far as why we grade every single snap and we give these grades, the reason that you do that is because you can't just look at the snaps per disruption allowed, right? Of course, you don't want one of these guys causing a bunch of disruption, but if they grade like a 0.5 and a 1 and a 0.5 and a 0 and a 1 and a 0.5 and a 0.5 and a 0.5, and then you just get like minus 1.5 for a terrible play. Well, that's been drowned. It's been taken care of already by all those good plays, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
at the end of the day, he aced the biggest test of the season. Under your example, he failed the quiz to start the season, but he just aced the biggest test they had, Alabama on the road.
Yeah.
So that's the standard now.
Blake, that's exactly right. And so as you're analyzing this, what you need to think about is what's the most important variable here? Is it this weird first game versus Rice where Sark said there was a bunch of physical issues or stuff like that? Or is it what you actually saw with your own two eyes versus Alabama? Mm-hmm. Let's see here. We have what is Cody Carpentier saying LOL about all this stuff? Come on.
Probably
please don't be like LSU with Perkins. What are they ever going to do with that dude? LOL. Oh gosh. Yeah. New to your portal. Your eagle eye spots penalties before they're called. Plus, you have an awesome. Oh, well, listen to this guy. New to my portal. Listen to this guy. I'm not sure I understand exactly. I think Manny Escamilla is operating at a whole entirely different level than I am. An eagle eye. He's talking about a new portal. Are we in a portal here together with our friends?
I guess. Sounds like a new to your portal. I never thought of it as that, but maybe it is.
Yeah. Let's see here. Rex St. Charles says it needs more pivots tables, Alex. I don't even know what that is. Dude, I just use the spreadsheet.
Some Excel thing.
Yeah. Oh, or those are little things with the very top little things. Yeah.
I think so.
I don't care. If I would have known that, I have to use the same template every year so I can it's the same. Like it's going to look like that in like 15 years. If I'm still doing this in 15 years,
the fonts may be slightly different, as you stated. The 2015 fonts weren't so great, but now.
That's definitely true. Everything has to stay the same just so I can make sure that it's the same.
Shout out to
Windermere, Florida. Jay Archer, great to hear from you, brother. Okay, I think we can probably talk about Jake Majors next. What a great name. What a great name. All right, Jake Majors sounds like major playmaker, but what a great game for Jake Majors.
Former Orangebloods sponsored athlete too. He used to do videos on the channel. Shout out Jake.
He didn't allow any disruption. That
was the biggest concern going into the game was the interior offensive line.
He just didn't. And I told you guys last week. I hate to say I'm not even here saying I told you so. I'm just here to talk about what I see. It's like you guys, like I always say, man, you guys do you. I really don't care. You can do like. I love having you guys here, man. I'll love you even if you hate my takes. It really doesn't matter to me. So I'm not saying I told you so. But I did say this thing about Jake Majors being good against these stunts. I did say it. Blake, I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Let's see. If we just go back to the historical data sheet. So now Jake Majors, even after having such a bust of an original game, 34.3 snaps per disruption allowed. He's up here like one of these G's, dude. So this is a good development. He played really well. I thought he held up, much better in pass protection than he did against the run. And pass pro is where you can really see Jake when he comes into engagement. We can really see him, bring his hips up into it. Really try, it's just hard it's still a little bit hard for him when he's trying to generate movement off the line of scrimmage. He wasn't lunging like he was versus Rice, which is good. His center of gravity was a whole lot better. There were some plays where he was graded a little bit negatively for bailing a little bit too early on DJ Campbell with the three-hand technique stuff. But I think with DJ Campbell, he just thinks to himself, man, in this run game, if he's got a down block and he's got leverage, he's going to be fine. I need to get second level, So I think that there were some of the plays like that, and it was fine. DJ to not get any disruption from those guys. No pre-snap penalties. We what was it? The one hold on the downfield block from Kelvin Banks. That's it, right? The hold on the was that on a little screen that he got out in front of? Was that JT Sanders? I forget who it was.
I think you're.
But
right.
that was a good hustle play, man. I was like, dude, I was going to grade that as a 1 because I think it ended up being a knockdown, right? But he did kind of grab him and kind of turn him around and then shoved him. But
so we did final takes about Texas Alabama last Friday with Cody, right?
Speaking of Cody,
your top 3 players that you said were the most important for Texas to win. Number 3 was Jake Majors. Number 2 was insert right guard, and number 1 was Quinn. And those guys, they were all phenomenal. And Texas wins by 10.
Looking back, I should have won that game over Cody. We should have made him eat that whole pile of steak. I shouldn't have had to eat that.
Also,
hot
number 4 was Jahdae Barron, who had a big interception too. So.
Yeah. Who was the other one?
Huh?
Sweat.
Sweat was number 5.
He had a good game. Sweat had a good game. Some people said he had a sack. I said he had half a sack. But Cody had the good Byron Murphy call, though. Byron Murphy had an epic game, too. One of us should have had Anthony Hill.
Anthony Hill was, yeah.
I'm gonna keep that in my back pocket to play during final takes on Friday. Of course, you can find that here on the channel. Again, oh gosh, I almost forgot. Please, while you're here, if you can like and subscribe to the channel. It's so easy to click like.
We're over 17,000 subscribers now. We hit that last night. 17,000.
Wow. Well, congratulations to the Orangebloods YouTube channel here, and congratulations to all of you for coming here and having some fun. Also, a note that I just have to write down: if you're interested in sponsoring the show, please email me, alex@rosterwatch.com. It's right there under my right there, alex@rosterwatch.com. Or if you just have anything you want me to talk about, if you have suggestions for the show, you want to tell me that my face looks too red today because I just got out of my infrared sauna right before this. It was the first time. The reason why my face has never looked this red and kind of sweaty before, it's gonna happen more often now. It's because I haven't wanted to get in my sauna during the day. For one, I haven't had enough time. And for 2, who wants to get in a sauna when it's like 106 degrees outside? I'm just like, there's a sauna outside. Like, what am I doing getting up into this thing? So yeah, that's the sauna bit there. But yeah, I'm gonna get myself cooled off. I'm all hot and bothered by how well this offensive line played. We've talked about the right side. Let's talk about the left side. Let's do it next.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback takes a look at arguably the most high-profile recruitment in the history of the Texas football program, at least until Arch Manning came along. Yes, I'm talking about former Texas quarterback Chris Sims, who was the nation's #1 ranked prospect when he came out of New Jersey in 1999. Sims took a look around all over the nation early in his recruitment, visiting the likes of Ohio State and Penn State, before eventually setting on his top 2. The 2 UTs, Texas and Tennessee, were his 2 finalists. After taking an official visit to Austin in the fall of 1998, the Longhorns appeared to be poised to land Sims, which partly helped steer Eli Manning, who also visited Texas in the fall of 1998, to Ole Miss. Yet, when Sims announced his decision on December 15th on the MSG network, he picked the Vols over the Longhorns. Matt Brown later admitted that the Texas coaching staff was shocked by the news. Quote, "I'm proud to be a Vol, and it's a good place for me," Sims said upon his announcement. "I'm a big fan of Coach Fulmer, and I think it fits me right. I feel so relieved, and I can finally get back to being a high schooler and enjoying myself." Yet, the truth of the matter is that Sims wasn't really relieved about the decision, and word got around quickly that he was wavering on his commitment to the Vols almost as soon as he made the announcement. I can remember talking to a Texas source on January 1st of 1999, just before the Longhorns played Mississippi State in the Cotton Bowl, that the Longhorns were going to flip Sims away from Tennessee. A few days following the New Year's Bowl game, Sims called Texas assistant coach Tim Brewster to tell him that he was having second thoughts. Less than 3 weeks later, Sims sat down with his parents, Diana and Phil, you might have heard of him, to reevaluate the decision. The next day, he called Tennessee head coach Phil Fulmer to deliver the news. Sims said, quote, "The hardest thing I ever did in my life. The first thing he said to me was, 'Chris, I'm down here in Alabama recruiting you the best receiver in the country,' end quote." 1 day later, Sims made things official by flipping his commitment to the Longhorns, which helped cement a #1 overall recruiting class for Brown and his coaching staff. It proved to be a game changer for the Longhorns, as evidenced by the commitment of the big 3 wide receivers in the following recruiting class: B.J. Johnson, Roy Williams, and Sloan Thomas, as well as paving the way for Cedric Benson's commitment to the Longhorns in the 2001 recruiting class. Ultimately, it was one of the great recruiting moments in the history of the Texas football program.
Ah, yes, football with friends. It's fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap, man. So happy to be with you guys here on a big hump day. We have so much we still need to get to. I keep on saying we're talking about the matchup tool and all this. Maybe that'll just be a Thursday thing. Lord knows we haven't even talked about the skill guys.
And the matchup tool is reaching Matt Stafford range at this point.
The matchup tool is epic, dude. It's
awesome. We just need to talk about it.
Yeah. It's a snap counts, targets, touches. Man, we got a lot of data that we can go through from the NFL week. Man, you get us talking about Longhorns, man, and it's like, who'd have thought? You're on a channel here that's kind of dedicated to the Longhorns. You know that Football with Friends, though, it's about football, it's about friends, it's about NFL, fantasy, lake levels, best rock albums. Has anybody said a new one yet, Blake?
Let me see.
They've been talking about it. They've been talking about pivot tables. AC/DC Back in Black. Dude, I was just checking. Speaking of Jay Ward, I was going to forget this. He just sent me a email. Is there a way I could pull this up? I'm not sure I can even pull this up.
You could probably.
Oh, maybe. Hold on. Is this it? Oh yeah. Look what Jay Ward just sent me. He said he's drinking a cold beer. And watching, he said he's drinking cold beer and watching FWF on his big screen. Here's my question, Blake. I knew I looked red and hot and sweaty. But do I look that red?
We both look red. Look at that.
My God. It's yeah.
I think you got the saturation too high on the TV, Jay Ward.
I'm not sure. Maybe maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just turning. My hair's turning orange. My face is turning red. This is all crazy. People complaining about about watching the same recruiting flashbacks over and over again. Because look, man, we're still a new channel. We're still getting up and running, but I've never seen people like, golly, man, just give us some regular, like, full length Specs commercials or something. Talk about the cherry on a.
We need 2 minutes on Val Garcia is what we need. We need him to record.
Valenrealty.com for sure. Don't for real. You don't need to pay somebody to sell your house. So, or you don't need to pay full price. You either pay half or get it free. Because you can get it for free if you're an educator, you're in the ministries. You can get half off if you just tell them that you found him on Football with Friends. All right, left side of the line. Hayden Connor. Is he Benjamin Button still? He's not Benjamin Button. He just doesn't. He doesn't. He's not going backwards. He's just kind of like. At this point, you wonder if he maybe he is what he is. And if he is what he is right now, he's fine. He's fine. He's big. He's strong. He moves well enough. He's smart. Has a slight tendency to he gets a little bit overpowered whenever he's having to move laterally. It's not so much when he's moving backwards, not so much when he's moving forward. When he's moving laterally, when he's pulling out on these on these pin and pulls, when he's on these counters and these traps, these man gap assignments. Maybe also it could be, it's not just, it's also if he's working a zone angle second level to an inside linebacker that's going with the flow of the play. Sometimes you see Hayden Connor. The area of improvement that I would just like to see most from him is in those spots where he's having to move a little bit laterally, the same, like you're at a 45-degree angle, working upfield to the linebacker, say the inside linebacker that's flowing with the play. You're on the back side of the play. He's flowing play side. You're trying to get up with him. You're trying to gain a little bit of leverage. So in gaining that leverage, there is a lot of lateral. It's like it's a little bit of a forward movement, but it's a horizontal 45-degree angle. It's a bit of a lateral movement. He has a little bit of trouble breaking down, getting his power base, getting his center of gravity set, and engaging with the same power that he can just right off the line of scrimmage. And so you see that in that kind of setting. You see it in the settings where they're taking the immediate outside zone angles, right? That immediate outside zone angle is a very, it's not, it isn't one where you can just kind of catch a guy and hope that someone's like, you have to attack him and do the Christian Jones thing where if he's trying to come upfield, you just say, fine, I'm going to take my long arm here. I'm going to push your butt to the sidelines, because if you go past me like this, it doesn't matter. You're out of the play. Right. So I would just, or if he comes past you upfield, but if he keeps going out, if he keeps moving out towards the sidelines, it's like, what does it even matter then? It's like you just chase him over there. You can't catch in that spot though. And it feels like maybe he does some catching, and it feels like the same thing mechanically with whenever he's trying to work second level on the backside of the play, whenever inside linebackers are flowing play side. It's the same stuff about just getting that power base, getting the center of gravity set, breaking down, and engaging while moving laterally in open space. In closed space, he's fine. Picking up these stunts, he's fine. Moving backwards, mirroring his hips, he's fine. Like all that stuff's fine. I think to get to the top of his game, that's what he needs to work on most. And we saw it in this game. What did he allow? I mean, he allowed a couple of. The first game, it was just a bunch of run stuffs that he allowed in outside zone. This one, it was. Let me just look through his sheet. Alabama OL. Can't believe I'm done with the deep dig, man. It feels good. It feels good, man. All right, let's see. So, during the first half, he had some negatively graded plays, but didn't allow any disruption. Oh man, he hates this. Blake, he didn't allow any disruption until the last play of the second to last series.
Oh man,
he got a pressure. He allowed a pressure. And then in that last series, like we talked about, when they were having to run the football, that was a bunch of fits and starts there when they were having to run the ball. It's like every time it felt like some kind of heroic thing that Jonathan Brooks, and we'll talk about Brooks tomorrow, but it felt like there was some kind of heroic thing that he would do to just barely nudge the ball past the line of scrimmage. And you know what I'm saying? Because it had got the drive had gotten off to a bad start, and it was or the new series had gotten off to a kind of bad start because the run had been completely stuffed or stuff like a lot of that was some Hayden Connor stuff, right? Hayden Connor had some trouble there. Christian Jones, that was his one time was to start that series when he allowed the run stuff, but Hayden Connor allowed the other two run stuffs there on that series. And of course, I didn't chart like some cockamamie fools, I did not chart the kneel downs at the end of the game. Why would you what do you get from chart? Like, what can you possibly grade from charting a victory formation play? It's like, what is this? That was that was great. The way he stood up out of his stance and touched the other guy like this and shook his hand.
Hey, I will say that was just an epic closing to the game of Texas imposing their will, running the football, running the clock out like that.
Yeah.
I guess there was the game last year where Texas ran it 20 straight times to end I think it was the Baylor game. But this was something else. Like that 6-minute drive or however long it was to just say, we got the ball, we're just going to run the clock out. This is it. You're done.
I think they ran it nine times in a row.
Yeah,
So,
I think you're right.
it went inside zone, outside zone, outside zone, inside zone, draw play for the first down.
Mm-hmm.
Inside zone, inside. They were just saying they were saying just bang it up in there, dude. Except for that one draw. So yeah, I think this is good. What he's like, Money B has some good takes here. He's saying about Hayden Connor, he's a steady Eddie. I think that's a great way of putting it. He's good, he's steady, he's fine. I don't think he's a Benjamin Button of football. That was just, I was only saying that after the Rice game in a fit of rage and anger. She's a Benjamin Button of football. We got our pets' heads are falling off. Like what's going on around here? But he's not Benjamin Button. And listen, I would never say that to him to his face, because he would roll me up into a ball and just commit murder. And then the other thing, Money B saying, he watched the first half earlier and Hudson was getting pushed back with ease in pass protection. So, yeah, spot the lie, right? I mean, it's kind of is what it is. But let's also say he had I want to give the guy credit. Like, we watch all these plays because we want to make sure that we highlight the fact that, that there is something. Cole Hudson he looks. We saw flashes of a guy that looks better this year than he ever looked last year. He's like, what do you expect for the development curve from a guy that was just thrown into the fire last year? Kind of wasn't that good. Digressed a little bit during the years, been hurt the whole time, has to fight for a new job, getting back into it. Doesn't have any continuity with his offensive line. Like, you would kind of expect a little bit of rust. The rest of this team was given the grace of a little bit of rust in their first game back. We talk about what do we talk about, Blake? The whole thing about the flood and the suddenness and the fast. What's that Hemingway thing?
Suddenly and then gradually.
Yeah. Gradually, then suddenly, right?
Yeah, gradually.
These things can happen. These things can happen suddenly, and I think that the hope for the Texas offensive line just in general is that nobody can deny the gradual progression that we've seen. The sudden stuff from DJ Campbell. The sudden stuff this week that was a little bit predictable that we kind of talked about with Jake Majors. Can it be sustainable? It sure would be cool if it would, because if it is, there's not going to be anything. At that point, the only thing that holds the offense back is either Sark's play calling or Quinn Ewers' decision making, or random acts of God with Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell and Jordan Whittington and J.T. Sanders' hands, right? Those things feel a lot. Those are isolated events. Whereas with the offensive line, that's a living, breathing unit. But it's five people. It's so many more variables. If you get that thing going to the level that we're talking about, grading 76.5 at the bottom end. Having your NFL, having your Banks, your Christian Jones, the rest of these guys, grading like the NFL guys, DJ Campbell playing at his legitimate upside. That's the difference right there. Like, you guys should go back and watch DJ Campbell, man. Like, he had some plays in this game where guy's just murderous, dude. It's like, I've always said, it's like it was a big mistake to have that guy, ranked over Kelvin Banks. We create content. I go and see them both live. I see them both live at the same camp. I watched all their film, did all this stuff. I'm like, I like DJ Campbell better. It's like, sue me. That's who I like better. And that's wrong, I think. But it goes to show I do this for a living. I watch offensive linemen.
You were speaking about the flashes from DJ Campbell all season last year. You were saying you saw it. And so this performance was kind of the one that was like, yeah, there it is. There's
something that there's obviously something there. There's obviously a lot there. What did the Titanic run into? An iceberg, right? It's like you look at they say the tip of the iceberg. That really isn't we've seen the tip of the iceberg from DJ Campbell. Now it's like we're seeing like there really is a substantial It's like he's like glacial, you know. It's like it's amazing. So well, I don't know what I'm talking. So anyway, but with Hayden Connor, if he can just play at that baseline level, you get that spike from DJ Campbell, get the NFL guys doing what they're doing. It's like, well, what's stopping you? Steve Sarkisian's play calling? Well, that shouldn't stop you. He's getting paid $5 million a year for that. Like, that's the reason he was hired. Bring the Alabama, like that Alabama offense that I see. I'm Kevin Eltife and CDC. I want that. Bring that to Texas. Just bring that. Right? That's why he's here.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that can stop it is like he's got the weapons. Like A.D. Mitchell's going to play in the NFL. Xavier Worthy's going to play in the NFL. Jordan Whittington's going to play in the NFL. These guys, JT Sanders is going to play in the NFL. A lot of those guys are going to get drafted early. These mock drafts now are putting A.D. Mitchell in the first round, and it's just going to continue on. Now that he has 3. So you have 3 touchdowns already? That's
all he does is score touchdowns.
Are you kidding me? And dude, he has 15 touchdowns on a. What is his target share? It's not even that good. So I did.
He is big play Mitchell. Like that's just what he is. He's been that his whole career. He had touchdowns in both the playoff games he's played in.
He had a 17% target share versus Rice, a 14% target share versus Alabama. He has a 15.49% target share on the season. He's third on the team. He's behind JT Sanders right now. Look, we'll talk about the skill guys tomorrow. We still got to talk about Kelvin Banks, Jay Ward saying, what did he say? Alex and Blake have rosy cheeks like Santa Claus over here on my
turn
TV.
the saturation down.
Turn down the saturation. And see if you can find a button on there, Jay Ward, that makes my hair less orange, please. At least I'll feel good. At least I'll feel good knowing that you don't see it this orange when even the rest of the whole world does. Also, I mean, if you guys could please like and subscribe. I go and look at these videos. Look at that. We're gonna get this merch thing figured out, Blake. I think we're gonna do it. If you guys could please like and subscribe. I see how many people watch the videos, man. Sometimes these videos get like over 2,000 views and they get like 100 likes. So why not just like if everybody liked it, it would be great.
Cost you anything. Helps us out a ton.
Yeah, I don't think it costs. Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything.
Great. Super
chats will cost you something, but Blake will put those right up. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions too, I guess I should have told you at the beginning of the show instead of only like 10 minutes out. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, and then anything else? Oh God, the Micah Hudson stuff, the Brandon Baker. We should buy that Brandon Baker huddle and just do one with Zuna and Brandon Baker, maybe when Cody comes up. All right.
Also best rock albums, guys. Get those in the chat before the show ends.
Well, you and I should go over ours too. Okay, so Kelvin Banks. I mean, we don't even need to talk about it. He's fine. He's fine. He had a bad first game, not a bad one. He had a fine first game. He's fine. You know, he's fine. He gave up one quarterback hit, and he had the one penalty, and that's it. And so you look at him on the sheet. And you're like, well, damn, dude. It's like he's way, way farther down this sheet right now than he was in his freshman year. Mm-hmm. But it's just like this is just the thing with the test, right? You got a bad thing to start. His snaps per disruption, and after his first week was sitting down at like, what was it? It was like at 19 or 20 or something like this. It was below average, and now it's up to 27.4. Basically, he's had a bad game. He's had a good game. This last game, so he had one penalty, one penalty, one QB hit, 70 plays, so disruption allowed once every 35. So if he plays every game like Alabama, he's up here at like 15 overall, and he's gonna play most of these games much better than he did against Alabama. He's got that thing, he's got that anchor hanging around his neck from the Rice game. He'll continue to move up. Next week he'll be above 30. I guarantee it. Don't worry about Banks. He's going to end up right up here, right where he was last year, 55.6.
Hopefully nobody was worried about Banks. That dude, I mean, he's a first-round draft pick. The guy's a beast.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I mean, we always say that he's a first-round draft pick, a top 10 draft pick, all that stuff, and he is. But like, wouldn't mind seeing him take a kind of Christian Jones tiny little another step forward. I mean, he's gonna need to keep taking steps forward. It feels like this year he's just continued.
He's only a sophomore.
Continued on being the really good player that he was as a freshman. Yeah. He looks better. He's lost a significant amount of baby fat. It feels like he moved his slide It looks like the slightest bit. He's always had a really smooth kick slide, but he looks like more of a grown man sort of doing it now, right? A little bit less formulaic with it, like he's trying to think about what he glides a little bit better now, right? Whenever he's setting back to depth, and that's something that you can easily see. And these Alabama guys, like, he was on an island every single time. At least, I mean, these other guys, they deal with these stunts and they deal with these twists and this. At least when they're doing that, and on the inside, you can get hip to hip. You can feel out where these guys are going to be. There's a big natural wall there with kind of two men next to one another as you're addressing what's going to be happening on this stunt. It's hard on your mind, but as far as the physical barricade and the barrier that your two bodies present, it's a little bit different with how the defenders have to approach you, the angles they have to take to get around you, things like that. When you're out there on an island, it's like you get evaluation rep after evaluation rep after evaluation rep against really good players. And 41 for Alabama, guy's a good player. 15 for Alabama. I think these guys are good players, man. Who was 41? Let me just see if I can just pull it up. I got this stupid PFF thing pulled up, but they'll probably tell me who 41 is. Let's see. Yeah, Chris Braswell. I just want to click on the left off. Yeah, so they have him. Like he had a great game. He had the second best game on defense according to these fools. Let's see. How does he grade out normally versus these guys? What year is he? Oh gosh. So he's a junior who, if you listen to these idiots, I mean, he's had an outstanding career there. So Braswell's really good. He'll be draft eligible this year. I'll bet he goes. 15. Dallas Turner. I mean, we know he's good, right? These are good, dude. These are good players. 93 is good. He would sometimes line up over there at the 4 technique. How old is he? Is he? He had a bad grade versus Middle Tennessee. Okay, so he's actually a senior. He's a good player. I think 43 and 15 were dude. Here's the point. It doesn't. I'm tired. I'm so tired of this stupid PFF. Here's the point. The point is, he was going up against good guys. He was on an island. It's Kelvin. Like, it's a matter of time before Kelvin Banks gets back to throwing out like 83s and stuff like this. It's just it's just going to happen. And by the end of this year, it'll be, I would imagine by this time next year, he'll have his agent. He won't have signed with his agent, but he'll have his agent picked out. It'll probably be David Mulligett at Athletes First. I would say. There are a couple others who might get him. I think Octagon would have a chance with him with all the. This is all off-season talk, okay? This is all I'm talking about. This
week 3, Alex. Week 3. We got Wyoming this Saturday.
He's expected to be drafted this year. Who? Kelvin?
No, it was one of the Alabama.
Oh yeah. Dallas Turner or 43. Braswell.
He was talking about Braswell, but
Braswell's good. Braswell's got some bend and he's got some just juice and some get off. It's a tough, dude. Those are tough. Those are tough guys to go against, man.
Jay Ward, what's an 8-hour Football with Friends episode?
Yeah, I could walk you. I could walk. We can go. Like I could probably just grab this thing and we can go in the backyard. I can change out the chlorine tabs on the pool. We could go look for snakes in the chicken coop. We have like the action hour. That would be fun.
It would be fun.
8 hours of this show. I don't know what the hell else
He wants to send us pictures from duck blinds and deer stands.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, any duck blind or deer stand stuff, man. You guys gotta send it our way. So that's the thing, dude. The thing the theme of the day is from a football perspective. Is just the whole thing I said about steady and then fast. It's like this thing has been built up for a long time. And it was just versus Alabama where it was like, boom, that was it.
Yeah, not just the offensive line, the whole team.
But dude, when the offensive line does that, it's just it sets the stage. It sets the stage. It lets the offense. It sets things up for the offense and the defense to play complementary football. It allows the offense to sustain drives to where the defense doesn't have to get back out there so soon. They're not out there playing winded. You don't hit a bunch of 3 and outs. It's just like the whole when the O-line's playing like this, dude, it doesn't just affect the offense. It affects the defense. It affects the flow of the game. It affects everything. And we've been waiting for it. And what I'm trying to tell you is what we saw Texas do on the offensive line this week is it's probably as good as you're going to see. It was as good as any team could see. I've been doing this a long time. I've been, not just watching Texas, right? Before I ever did this stuff for Texas, people say like that must have been boring. I'm like, how could it have been boring? I was watching football, but I would do the scouting on the offensive line guys coming out of college. And when you scout these guys, you also, you kind of compare them to the players next to them and you side scout and things like that. And you realize, man, even these offensive lines that Texas fans dream of, they're like, why can't we have one like Wisconsin that Melvin Gordon or Jonathan Taylor ran behind? Or why do these Ohio State offensive lines always get such push off the ball? And why do they always like all the, and what I'm saying is the offensive line that you guys got versus Alabama in this game, right? Like what you got was that was it. That's what you've been hoping for. That's it. If it could continue like that, man, it's going to be big time. Here at the Deep Dig, we are going to, we're going to chronicle every step they take, every little step they make. And what is that? I'll be watching you. I will. It's like I'm a creepy.
It's the perfect segue into best rock albums.
I'm the creepy stalker from the song. All right. So hey, all right. We
Did you have the Police as one of your best rock albums?
That's what it was, right? The Message in a Bottle. I'll be watching you. All that stuff like that. Just a quick reminder again: like and subscribe. Also, if you want to sponsor the show, email me alex@rosterwatch.com. Or if you just have questions, you have photos you like me put up, like on this, like I'm telling you, that's fun. We're here to have fun. All right, Blake, your best rock albums. Let's hear them, brother.
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna say Back in Black. We already had Jay Ward say that one earlier. I'm gonna say one that I think everybody would agree is in or at least near the top. Who's Next by The Who. Bob O'Reilly, Won't Get Fooled Again, Behind Blue Eyes. And I got one. Maybe a little off the beaten path, but it's one of my favorites. Trace Hombres by ZZ Top.
You're a big ZZ Top guy?
I like ZZ Top, man. That's Texas.
Do people in the chat think they're just a little bit gimmicky with those, with the way that they kind of did their little dance and their beard?
They got gimmicky, but like Trace Hombres is one of their early albums when I think they were just a badass rock band from Texas. They did get a little gimmicky in the 80s for sure with Sharp Dressed Man and the poofy guitars and the Eliminator car.
You're more of a classic rock guy, huh? You kind of like that classic rock.
That's what I grew up on. I love Metallica. I love all that stuff too. But I grew up on classic rock. That's what my dad likes. That's what I grew up listening to.
Well, I mean, you could tell that. Like, if we're just talking about stuff that was kind of before my time, of course, is Dark Side of the Moon is that a rock album? Yeah. Okay.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yep. So there's that. I mean, there's this classic stuff. Like, there's like Abbey Road. It's like,
sure. Rolling Stones.
The ones that are most
Led Zeppelin. Oh, yeah. Jay Ward just said it. Led Zeppelin was the next one.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. But just like of my lifetime, the ones that I like best. So in the 90s, it was 10 by Pearl Jam. I love the Black Album by Metallica. Oh God, I loved 9 Inch Nails, the one with Closer and stuff on there.
Yeah. Obviously, that's before my time, but I really like it. Early came to like Audio Slave in college, Chris Cornell.
Well, oh God, Soundgarden, bad Motorfinger. That could be up there as one of the Angel Dust by Faith No More. There's a million I'm leaving. Oh God, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Sure. And then, oh God, what was it? Paranoid Android, the Radiohead one, the really good one.
I think that's right.
And then Muse's first album. It's awesome. I have a million different ones of these, man. I could go on forever. It's like Jay Ward said, it could be an 8-hour show, but it can't be an 8-hour show because I got a son at football practice. I got a daughter at cheer practice. I got a bunch of I got a bunch of
Poison does not have one of the best rock albums of all time.
Hey, I mean, everybody's got their own ideas, man. And this is where we come together for them. Always having a great time. It's football with friends. It's fun as hell. But for today, for a hump day, like all the DJs say, for Blake, I'm Alex. We're done.